Hello, vloggers. I'm the vlogger, you're the subscribers. I was yesterday, someone asked me, people are not having good parking today, how I ended up moving to Arizona. And so it's actually a nice story. Growing up, as I've mentioned before, I did not have a healthy, stable home, family. When I graduated high school, I went to college at Southwestern Michigan in Dowagiac, and a professor named Mr. Hartman, he was not a doctor, he didn't have a PhD, just his master's. He taught psychology and psychoanalysis and classes like that. So I took his classes, psychology, psychoanalysis, and I liked them a lot. Psychoanalysis, you evaluated all sorts of dynamics of yourself. So that was a really good class, like how you handle death, and we learned to meditate, and just all sorts of really neat stuff. So he, my second, third semester there, he designed a class called Psychoeducation, where I went to his psychoanalysis class. I evaluated how he taught. I did a lot of research on education charter schools. This was 1995, 96. Charter schools were a pretty big deal then, so there's a lot of news about that. So I was reading on those. And then a book that he has his class read by Wayne Dyer called The Adult Children of Alcoholics, he was going to have me teach on, or he did have me teach on. Well, I start reading this book, and it's overwhelming. It's all the broken, crazy in me I'm reading about. It's saying it was overwhelming, and I actually started having panic attacks for 2 days. So it was the biggest probably influence of my entire life, without exaggeration. I started counseling. I spent the next 2 years being really, really intentional about self-healing, because I realized I was fucked up in my head, the way I did things, the way my thought patterns, my choices, just unhealthy triangulation and codependency, just all this yuck. And so I didn't want to screw up my kids. That's what I'm thinking at 19. So from 19 to 21, I spent those 2 years working on self-healing. And so I meditated daily. I journaled frequently. When I felt depressed, I made myself go and be around people. When I didn't want to be with myself, I taught myself how to enjoy and love being with me. All this, it was huge transformation. I started processing. I had a lot of trauma in childhood, so I started processing and experiencing that in safe ways. Things like that. But all that to be said, I ended up going on a trip with a group called Outward Bound. It was the first time I ever left the Midwest. It was the first time I ever went on a plane. It's an 8-day outdoor excursion. I loved it. Amazing. We had a 24-hour solo, and during my 24-hour solo, I decided that I wanted to stay in the woods. 19-year-old, I'm gonna live off the land, and I can do it. So I keep driving by the gas station. I do this every day. Damn it. I get confused where the gas station is. I always think it's up ahead. It's not. But, okay. So, then the last day of the trip, somebody reads, because each day we read a meaningful quote. We had this little book. And the very last day, someone read about, when you go to the apex, you must come back down and teach those on the plateau, or whatever it's called, what you've learned at the apex. And live the apex on regular space. So I realized I should not live in the woods, in the mountains. Oh, I flew to it's Apache, I believe the Apache Mountains along the Arizona-New Mexico border is where I'd gone. Okay, long story. I decided I was meant to move to Arizona. I'm supposed to live in Arizona. So I start like looking into schools. There's 3 schools in Arizona, in Flagstaff, Tucson, and Phoenix. Arizona State University in Phoenix was the most reasonable, and I paid for college as I went. It took me 3 years to get my associates. It took me another 3 years to finish my bachelor's because I walked away with almost no college debt at all because I just paid as I went. So ASU is the most reasonable. So I finish out my associate's degree at Southwestern Michigan. I finish out my lease. A friend of mine loans a van to another friend. She drives the van, and she and I drive to Phoenix, drop me off at a Motel 6. My stuff goes into storage. That was the beginning of my life in Arizona in October of 1998. I moved there because I felt like I was supposed to live there. So, 19-year-old girl with a little bit of courage or foolishness. So I have these two not quite obsessive compulsive things that run together and actually complement each other, and it's like therapeutic a little bit. Like I always feel better afterwards. So maybe it's like a way I deal with anxiety, but like I don't like food to go to waste, and I don't like clutter and messiness. And so I'm really good at like taking leftovers and food that's gonna go bad and just putting stuff together and creating food. So we get a ridiculous amount of fresh vegetables because we're in the community supported agriculture from Nicole Bauman at Red Oak Farm on Prairie Street. And so we get vegetables every Thursday from her, fresh organic vegetables. And then we also get fresh organic vegetables. My mom works at the hospital, and so she signed up for one there also. And then we have a little bit out in the yard that really, it's mostly stuff I can't do much with. Like I don't cook with spicy. I don't do that. Jalapenos. We got some serrano peppers and some banana peppers. Like I just don't know what to really. I don't love those, so I don't do much with those. But we get a ridiculous amount of vegetables, and so I don't want things to go to waste, and I don't want a bunch of clutter, and so that like drives me to create. So we've been getting a ridiculous amount of cabbage, and my son's gonna yell for the dog in a minute. And so we steam it because my son and Serenity love it steamed, and they just eat it fresh like that. We froze some. I make like a apple cabbage vinegar salad, kind of like coleslaw, but not quite. We've got they're giving us a head a week. I can't even stay on top of that. We got 2 heads in the fridge right now. Beets, we're getting a like crazy amount of beets. So I made some sort of beet salad that I found online. We've frozen beets. We've just ate some fresh. You can roast them. Tonight I found a recipe and I made a beet hummus. So I made like kind of 2 batches, one that we can just eat now and then one that we can freeze for later. The last thing I wanted to talk about tonight was law school. I had my first official class today. It was in tort law. And as the teacher talked, I'm just, I don't know what the word is, curious, thrown off by this kind of like reality, as if whenever like someone does wrong to someone else, that the legal community and insurance has to be involved for the victim of whatever to be made right. I don't believe that. I think when I do something wrong, like whether it's an accident or not, because that's what the tort law, it like protects people like in a car accident, or like if I try to shoot my bow and arrow at Johnny and I miss and I hit Sam, like I'm so responsible for the damage to Sam. Right, of course I am. So why like can't I just pay for those damages and like we talk things out rather than having to go through legal means. I understand that there's times where like costs would be beyond one person's means, and so that's why you want insurance involved. And I also understand that not all people are actually responsible, and so that's why there's lawsuits. But just starting at the basis of like needing insurance and needing the justice system, instead of like, I want to start at the space of like looking at my neighbors, my friends, and other people in community and humanity in general as if we all matter. And when I do something wrong, I want to fix it. And I want the person that I've harmed to actually trust in humanity and give me a chance to try to make it right. And I'm gonna do the same. And also, like, sometimes, who cares? I'm gonna share a story. My old neighbors, they don't live here anymore. This single mom, I think she was like a drug addict, promiscuous as hell, like just a mess, broken, didn't take very good care of her kids, and her kids were like crazy. So they hung out with Davicito, my son, and the older boy would steal my son's stuff from our garage on a regular basis. Like almost every time they played together, he would take his stuff home and refuse to give it back to my son. And he was like 3-4 years older. I think David was probably 4 or 5 then, so this kid was like 8, 9, 10. He would like look you in the eyes and just lie. Stole, like, I've also heard since then, like even at like 8, 9, he like inappropriately touched little kids. So like this kid is a lifetime of problems. So he's stealing our son's stuff. What do you do with that as a parent? Like, I can call the police, I can go talk to the mother, but I know I can't actually trust her to hold her kid accountable. She doesn't even take care of herself. She doesn't give a shit about her kids. And so like, go talk to her. I'm not gonna get my son's stuff back. So then as the parent and as an adult, what do I want to choose to do? I don't want to sue them. Do I want to file criminal charges? Do I want to get the system involved in these human conflicts? No, because you know what? This is what I do with it. And so it's how I live and it's what I believe. Caicero's justice. I taught my 4-year-old or 5-year-old that if this little boy is stealing his toys, he clearly has problems way beyond anything that we can comprehend, and he can have the toys. It's not okay to steal, but let him live with that, because his problems are way beyond the fact that he's stealing from us. And we have the ability to replace the toys. We also live in a safe, stable home and can live without the toys. We don't need them. My son doesn't need them. And so that's what I chose to teach my son. I told the mom, she did some weird like performance stuff where, oh, Johnny, did you steal? Blah, blah. He stole on a regular basis. He kept stealing. Like, the mom's not going to fix it. And I could tell the police and whatever. Like, I could have got the system involved. But the kid's problems are way beyond the stealing. And back to this tort law stuff. One of, like, there's two. It's to deter and to compensate for loss. I challenge the idea of deterrent because psychology teaches us that people are more likely to change behavior due to positive reinforcement than negative reinforcement. So I'm more likely to make a good choice to get a reward than I am to make a good choice to avoid a punishment. Like, that's just reality in the moment. Not that deterrents don't sometimes help or impact our choices, but overall, psychology has found that people make good choices to get rewards, especially juveniles and kids. And so, like, I could sue them, which is the whole basis of tort law. You're suing people to help prevent other people from suing people. Like, why do we want to live in a state of fear? Like, what kind of logic is that? Like, we created this system to deter crime based in fear, rather than like, let's create, you ready for this? A system where we do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Because we, as humans, care about each other. We treat each other with the same respect that we want to be treated. We don't need to sue each other for that. We just need to actually love each other.